So your deck has almost nothing to do with the amount of conversions that you get on your webinar. I remember the very first presentation that I had to give. I was so stressed out. I was super excited. I had all that nervous energy I had spinning around inside of me. I was poised to speak in front of a group. It was about 40 people, and I was talking about how to put on a live event. At the time, I had held a lot of corporate events, but I'd never marketed or sold an event or anything like that. So I was talking about the behind the scenes stuff. And I was really excited because I had always wanted to speak on stage, but I didn't know how to put together the presentation. So I went through all the different books that I could. I did some Google searches and I put together a really rudimentary slide deck. I thought it was going to be enough. My presentation completely bombed. People were falling asleep. It was not a good time. I left there without making any sales, without really having any conversations. A couple of people came up and like patted me on the back and they said, hey, thanks a lot for giving the presentation. I think I learned some things in there that would be helpful, but I could tell like their heart wasn't in it. And I was kind of broken inside because my dream was always to speak on stages. Now with webinars, I have deconstructed more than 100 different webinars to figure out exactly what sells. I also was picked out of more than 2,500 applicants to do the ClickFunnels stage presentation and webinars. I've done that presentation more than 150 times, both virtually as a webinar and on stages around the US. I got personal training from Russell Brunson himself. I also got trained for the stage by Joe Polish, Dan Kennedy, and Frank Kern. So I put a lot of time and effort into learning what causes conversion. And let me tell you, it has almost nothing to do with your deck. The very first thing that you need to know is that stories sell. You need to be able to tell stories in a way that get people excited about what you're doing. Think for a second about your favorite high school teacher. Now think about all the other teachers. The thing is that all the other teachers probably taught more than your favorite teacher. Your favorite teacher was more interested in building rapport, in making learning fun. That's what you need to do on your webinar. It's not the amount of knowledge that you teach. It's how you teach a little bit of knowledge, make it engaging, make sure that people can see themselves being future paced and see how they can use it. Are you guys seeing how powerful telling stories can be? Because it is the number one thing. A good webinar has more than 25 stories in it. The really great ones have more than 50. Some of them are a sentence or two long. Some of them are a paragraph. Some of them are 30 seconds. Some of them are 3 minutes. A great webinar has a ton of stories built into it, and that's actually the preferred teaching mode. The second thing is language patterns. So the way that you say things, the way that you connect things throughout your webinar is the difference between people falling asleep and people actually paying attention. Did you know there are 10 different tonalities that you should be using in your webinar presentation? 10 total. Most people have 2 or 3 at most, and they're not intentional about it. It takes a lot of practice to get those across. The other thing is, how do you make people feel good, but at the same time realize that they need to buy? You might hear people say, you need this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Nobody likes to be told that they need anything. A real easy tip is to say, you want this, you want this outcome, you want to make more money, you want to have more free time, you want to have more business, then you are going to love my course. You should buy it. That sounds much different than need, want. Just a little tip. So language patterns, if you don't think that they make all the difference in the world, it's what got Brendan Burchard, Tony Robbins, the greats up on stage. That's what makes them really entertaining and really engaging to listen to. It's also what causes the audience to buy a lot of their products. Number 3 is overcoming objections. So I see so many people do this with their webinar. They're so busy teaching and throwing out all the different things that they want people to learn, and they're pushing all this massive amount of volume. Instead, you should be focusing on teaching a little bit and then figuring out what their objections are. Why do people not want to move forward? What is holding them back internally? If you come up with that, you can figure out how to overcome objections as they come up through stories, through changing the frame. The way you change the frame is you agree with them. You know, you might be thinking that it would be really difficult to give a webinar like this, but the truth is, with just a little bit of practice, you too can be giving really powerful webinars that are based in positive language patterns that get success for you. Do you see how I just reframed it right there? I overcame an objection and reframed it. A good webinar, if you watch Russell Brunson's webinar, he does this more than 23 times. By constantly switching people's frames and overcoming objections, by the time you get to the pitch, they have nothing to stop them from buying. They're leaning forward so hard and they want to buy that you can then move forward. So many people miss this crucial step. I've never seen anyone else really talk about it in depth, but it's something that I focus on every time I work with somebody, because if you overcome their objections as you're moving through the webinar, you will make quite a bit more sales. Next up, we have creating the offer. So I know there's been some other people talking about this, but your offer should have at least 6 components, if not more. You should have your main offer at the top, and then you should have all the supporting pieces underneath of it. It can be an internal objection, external objection. It can be the main vehicle, but really you just need to have your main offer and then things that support it and help them see how they can use it. And here's the trick. With your main offer, you want to get that up on the screen and you want to get it out into the open within 3 minutes. You want to get it out there as fast as possible, because what happens is when you make that offer, 10% will say yes and they'll buy right now because they're leaning forward so hard. 10% are never going to buy. They're probably going to click off of your webinar. But the other 80%, they're leaning in because you've told good stories at the start, because you've helped them overcome objections. They're on the fence and they're like, you know what? I really want it, but I need a little bit more convincing. That's what their subconscious is saying. And it doesn't matter what that offer is. They're going to say maybe because so few people take action right away. All of the other pieces of the offer are meant to get them off the fence. If you're really good with this, this is a pro tip. Somewhere in your stories out in the front of the webinar out here, you want to have opened a loop to something that is in your stack. By doing that, you then close the loop when they buy, which will also lead to more selling. Now, those are the main pieces of the webinar that cause conversion, but something that we didn't talk about at all was the funnel, the landing page, and the follow-up. So to start with the funnel, right now, 1 out of 5 people is actually showing up for the live webinar. You can raise that by having a better funnel and a better landing page. You want to create as much raw curiosity as possible to get them onto the webinar. I actually recommend just doing an opt-in to a video sales page and telling people that it's recorded if it's recorded. That works just fine. I wouldn't do that right out of the gate though. I would actually do a live webinar a couple times, because if you have 20 people on live, your energy is going to come across and you're going to close a higher percentage. Plus, it's going to help you get better at presenting, because that is the key here. Telling the stories, using the language patterns, overcoming the objections, all of that gets better as you do it. Next up is the follow-up. So there are 9 different ways that great webinars follow up with people. Most webinars, sadly, only use 1 or 2. I've seen most of them have 3 or 4 emails that go out to do the follow-up. A great email follow-up sequence has 8 to 10 emails that go out. They're also using text messaging. They're using Facebook Messenger. They're using voicemail drops. They're calling people and getting them on the phone. They're doing Q&A sessions. They're doing all the things that you can do to get people that are sitting on that fence and they're like, I'm interested, but I just don't know if this is the right fit for me to buy. So those are the 5 core things that cause conversion. If you want to make sure that you build your webinar to convert, I have a free workbook that comes with a 5-part, 5-minute video series you can opt in for down below. Also, if you have a webinar, but it's not getting the conversions that you want, I will do an audit where I will watch it, where I'll put it up on video, and I'll make a Loom video and I'll pause it as you're doing the webinar, and I will give you specific feedback. I'll rate you on your stories, I'll rate you on your language patterns, and I'll rate you on overcoming objections so that you can get your webinar converting in a powerful, consistent way that brings cash into your business. Lastly, if you want my help building your webinar from scratch, I'll do everything with you. I'll build out the entire presentation, help you build the deck custom to you. We'll also build the funnel, the landing pages, the email sequences, everything you need to have a massively converting webinar. You can find information on all of these down below this video. If you guys haven't already, click the subscribe button and ding that bell. I'm going to be dropping knowledge like this all the time, and you want to make sure that you get alerts when a new video comes out. You want to make sure that you get these videos right when they come out, because they are going to help you make more money, get more customers, and live the life of your dreams. I look forward to talking to you soon. Till next time, take action, change lives, and make money. We'll see you soon.